Hi again. John Wesley Bready, page 332 of this Freedom Whence, in the chapter Christendom Whither Bound, he's dealing with the fruits of the Evangelical revival. He says that the Evangelical revival bore the fairest flower and fruit of Reformed Christianity is indubitable. In the early 18th century, it seemed as though Protestantism was dying of spiritual paralysis and moral anemia. Puritanism, by iniquitous legislation, had been tortured and suppressed. A blighting Deism had descended on England like a noxious fog. In the name of naturalism, men and manners were corrupted. Beneath the glittering surface, abysmal ignorance was rife. The slave trade was flourishing and expanding. The Bible was discredited and mocked at. The gospel was treated as a myth. Wesley, defying the new philosophy and penetrating to the heart of the New Testament, changed the entire scene. Dr. Johnson, that is Samuel Johnson, once said of the mighty evangelist Wesley, "The dog enchants you with his conversation and then breaks away to visit some old woman." It was just at this point that both Dr. Johnson's high and dry and Sidney Smith's low and slow schools of contemporary England equally failed to understand either Wesley or the Evangelical revival. The old woman had a soul, so too had the humblest laborer, and so also had the worldling, the drunkard, and the prostitute. The revival made them soul conscious through Christ in God. It represented a new revelation of love to the loveless, shown that they might lovely be. Furthermore, it made its converts co-laborers together with God in bringing nearer that one far-off divine event to which the whole creation moves. The popular notion that the Evangelical revival was an irrational, inhibitive, joy-killing movement is but a sophisticated delusion. A constraining enthusiasm for righteousness imparts joy and gladness, and these the revival abundantly mediated. Wesley, from the day of his conversion, knew no depression of spirit. "Sour godliness is the devil's religion" was one of his favorite epigrams and a cardinal article in his daily creed. If certain pleasurable bypaths the revival closed, it was that the highway of righteousness might be opened and maintained. In a hard, materialistic, and individualistic age, to the outcasts of England, to those starved of spiritual religion, Wesley brought fellowship and love, joy and hope. He brought also vision, radiance, power, and holy aspiration. The revival led its followers first into peace with God, and then into brotherhood with man. Individual and moral redemption it used as a lever to social and humanitarian redemption. Inward holiness, it insisted, must express itself in outward righteousness. Faith must be judged by its fruits. Yet as the converts sought righteousness, even in the performance of the humblest tasks, the bluebird of happiness sang in their midst. Wesley not only was one of the happiest of men, he also was one of the most rational. Sanity and faith he always combined, even as religion and joy. Reason he ever considered a priceless gift from God, and his interpretations of revelation always were rational. But never did he permit reason to put on airs. Wesley triumphed because of the purity of his soul, the majesty of his message, the singleness of his purpose, and the sheer magnificence of his moral and spiritual stature. He won England again for Christ, for the gospel, and for sane biblical religion. His faith and vision impelled him to claim the world for his parish, and one of the rich fruits of the revival one of the rich fruits of the revival was the creation of the Protestant World Missionary Movement. Another was the creation of the British and Foreign Bible Society. Hence, in the wake of these quarter-centenary and bicentenary celebrations, a celebration of the Bible's 400th anniversary being put into the vernacular English, and also the 200th anniversary of Wesley's conversion. In celebrating the quarter-centenary and the bicentenary, it is pertinent that this society, along with the American Bible Society, has translated the scriptures in whole or part into over 1,000 languages and dialects. Now this is back in 1938 or so, and has circulated hundreds of millions of copies. It was Wesley and the Evangelical revival, therefore, that made the Bible a world-known book. In two memorable sentences, Elie Halevy, the great French historian of modern England, points a poignant challenge. He says, "A century earlier, John Wesley had defeated Voltaire. Would he defeat Karl Marx?" In these words are focused the essence of the world's elemental problem today. Wesley and Marx, unmistakably, are the two most influential characters of modern history. Again, this is just before World War II. The former revived and spread vital, practical Christianity. The latter, Marx, formulated and mediated the gospel of revolutionary class hatred based on economic materialism. The two men are at the opposite poles of human endeavor. They are as love and hatred. They represent the thesis and the antithesis of modern thought and action. Wesley was concerned with every aspect of man's welfare. Often he used the motto, "I am a man. Nothing that concerns man is alien to me." But he believed that human welfare was attainable only by faith in God and by the direction of all material powers toward the development of abundant spiritual life. Marx, contrariwise, denying God, denied the existence of the spiritual life and incited the proletariat to world revolution by bloody means. Wesley's crusade represented the epitome of spiritual power. Marx's crusade, the epitome of material force. In the 18th century, as Halevy reminds us, the master evangelist defeated the master iconoclast, that is Voltaire the philosopher. In the 20th century, will he defeat the master materialist? Wesley versus Marx is the crux of the modern problem, and progress no longer is deemed inevitable. Christendom, whither bound? So I think we can say safely that 80 years later, Marxian assumptions anyway, if not Marxism, are everywhere. That is the demand that equality, or actually equity, be not only attained, but be retained as the social system that we all must adhere to. And the current culture wars are, of course, wrapped around this same problem. Christianity has receded since 1940, that's for sure, certainly in the Western world, even though it's succeeded in Africa and in South America and in the Far East, ironically, but in our West it's definitely receding. So this idea that this caricature that has helped the recession, or the I would say closer to suppression nowadays of Christianity, this caricature that somehow Puritanism and Evangelicalism are killjoy religions. This caricature that he's referring to in this section is very much with us, and we Christians have not done enough to combat that prejudice, or that assumption about what Christianity accomplishes in the character. So we have a lot to regret, a lot of wasted time, this receding of Christianity before its enemies was not inevitable, because we have dropped the ball when it comes to Christian discipleship. This is the end of the chapter, Christendom Whither Bound, and the next chapter, Freedom Shall Live. So he's not pessimistic about the future back in 1938. I'll put in a link to, who did Charles Taze Russell say had already fulfilled Matthew 24, verse 14? See you soon.